Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Chad from Greyscalegorilla. Welcome to another podcast, another Greyscalegorilla podcast. How you guys doing today?
Doing pretty good.
Feeling good, man.
Feeling good? Good. We got, as always, my man Chris.
Hi, what's going on, everybody?
And Nick is back.
Hey, everybody.
Yay, Nick's back.
Hey, a quick note to the listeners. I just listened to last week's podcast. I wasn't on last week, but I listened to it over the weekend, and I highly recommend it. That was really fun to listen to.
Did you give us a review?
Yeah, I said in a review. These dingalings here. I thought it was fun. So it was an ask. It was kind of an AMA. We had some questions, or you guys had questions and answered them. It was really fun. Really fun to listen to. So if you haven't checked out last week's podcast, go. That's my little bit of follow up for today. Go listen to last week. It was good.
Yeah, that was fun. That was cool to we kind of connected with the GSG Connect people, which is our Slack for customers, and let them ask questions, and we had fun. Wasn't the same without you though.
Oh, come on. It was much more coherent, I bet. Without my ramblings.
No, it was just much less positive.
That's my job here.
Good. We need that. We need that balance.
That's right.
We're going to need that balance today for sure.
Yes.
Oh yes. I mean, we don't have a ton of follow up or anything. I mean, maybe we get right into it. If we pushed the podcast a day because yesterday was WWDC, which if you're not familiar, which is where Apple releases a ton of new software, sometimes some new hardware. They just kind of announce a lot of stuff. So we figured what we would talk about today is some of the new things that Apple announced, and kind of talk about it in the context of course, 3D, motion graphics, all this stuff, and what it means. So yeah, so that's the goal today. We'll see where we end up.
Oh, Chad's already shaking his head.
If you've listened to past podcasts, you may know that there's some differences. And hey, if you've been in the industry at all, or actually you don't even need to be in this industry. If you've used a computer at all, you know that there are Mac people and there are not Mac people. Let's just say that. Hot dog, not hot dog. And this is always the question. What should I use? And recently it's been a huge shift. A lot of people that I think would even self-identify as long-term Mac people have been moving to Windows, and we won't. I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about that today, but we have entire podcasts about that. So if you are interested, make sure you go back and listen to some of our past podcasts where we talk about this transition to PC and if you should move and why and all that stuff. So
yeah, but the short version is Nick is a Mac guy, Chad is a PC guy, and I recently went from Mac to PC.
We got them all covered.
Yeah, we've got all our bases covered for this topic, I feel like. And yeah, so we're gonna basically, what I want to do, and you guys jump in, but what I want to do is just kind of go over the major announcements and then get reactions from each one.
Let's do it.
How's that sound?
Let's go right up and talk about the most important one right away, which is the Rainbow Apple Watch band, which I'm really excited about. That's the biggest one. If you guys haven't seen it, it looks like Mork and Mindy, Mork from Mork. Looks like
nobody knows what that is.
All right, so all you cultured or older people will know Mork and Mindy. And he had these suspenders. There was rainbow striped suspenders. And my dad also had a rainbow striped camera cover or camera shoulder harness thing for old VHS cameras that he'd carry around, these big machines. And so they came out with a rainbow colored Apple Watch band literally yesterday. It was not announced on stage, obviously. And it was the first thing I bought as soon as I saw it. There was no questioning that I need this.
I think that's all we need to hear from you. That's all we need to know is that was the thing that you went and bought, was the rainbow band.
Out of all the stuff announced yesterday, that is really what I'm most excited about.
The biggest advancement for you.
It's big.
Is it like a Pride? Is it are they selling it as a LGBT Pride type thing, or what?
Yeah, so Apple gave these bands to all their employees for the Pride Parade. like a few weeks ago, or
So
maybe
it's not
it was
really
last
Mork
year.
and Mindy. It's LGBT rights.
No. I love rainbows. I love rights as well. Let me tell you.
You love Mork and Mindy and rainbows.
I love it all. I love all people. I love Mork and Mindy. I love the rainbow. Listen, if you see my tutorials, I also love the rainbow gradient. I'm all about it. Every part of it I love. And I'm like supporting rights and Mork and Mindy, and I get to wear a rainbow on my wrist. It hits all my my buttons. So with that out of the way, we could talk about all the boring computer stuff, but I just wanted to really get to the meat of this and talk about some Apple Watch bands.
Well, I mean, let's start with the Apple Watch, because that's really kind of what they started talking about first. You have an Apple Watch. I just have a Fitbit. I have the Fitbit Alta HR, which is really purely for fitness. It just does the steps, the heart rate, all that sort of thing, and it connects to my phone. It actually sends me text messages. Not nearly as complicated as the watch, but do you feel like this Watch OS update is anything significant other than the weird kaleidoscope screen that looks like you can do?
I don't use my Apple Watch for this. Apple Watch is basically like an expensive Fitbit to me. The reason I got it was because I actually love Fitbit, but they kept breaking on me. And to their credit, they've always given me a new one every time it broke. I just say, hey, it broke again, and they'd send me a new one. But there was always like a week or two of not activity, right? Like once you have a graph and you're looking to like move a certain amount per day, every time it would break, it'd have like these gaps in my thing. And I'm like, well, I wish I could just buy one that didn't get hurt if you got it wet, and I didn't have to take it off every time. Cause sometimes I would forget, you know, you get excited, you hop in a hot tub, and all of a sudden you got a Fitbit on that's going to break. And so really I got the Apple Watch because I think it's more robust. And it was also, they announced the waterproofness of the second generation and all that stuff. So I like the Fitbit stuff, but I literally got the Apple Watch as an experiment. Only recently am I starting to play more with like starting and stopping my podcast with it and doing more exercise stuff with it. But yeah, I'm really minimal with my watch stuff. So the new operating system, that stuff's always cool. They try to upgrade it, but that's not huge on my list.
Yeah, I never really, I think I thought about getting like a smartwatch, and then I just kind of realized that my phone is always kind of near me or on me, so I didn't really see a need for it.
Yeah, that's my thought.
And then when I got the Fitbit, I was like, okay, this is just enough for me, because I can't actually, it's not a distraction, because when I get a text, it just kind of vibrates and then it just scrolls. It scrolls the message, I think an abbreviated version of the message. So there's no temptation for me to like spend an hour trying to like reply to somebody on a watch, which I kind of dig. But anyway, moving on to
I got one quick question there.
Yeah.
Like I don't use a Fitbit or an Apple Watch. The phone detects your steps. So like, have you found that those are like dramatically more accurate, like than what your phone naturally does in your pocket?
No, I think the phone in the pocket thing is actually pretty accurate as far as I've seen. What the watch does for me is, so it does the heart rate stuff, which is important for, you know, making sure your heart rate gets to a certain point and getting that kind of exercise. But then it's also like Chad said, I do use it for like notifications and things like that too. So having a device, let's just say this, having a screen that you don't have to pull out of your pocket is just part of the benefit of having the watch more than anything else. So it's kind of like the middle screen. I have this big screen in front of me. I have the one in my pocket, and then I have this little teeny one that will kind of give me notifications or little parts about my day without having to like pull things out of my pocket.
You need to be touching at least two screens at any given time.
If I don't have a glowing rectangle in front of me at all times, I just don't feel like I'm learning. You know, I don't feel like I'm living at this point.
Oh, whoa. Yeah, I think what I like about it is yeah, you know, the phone can track your steps and all that, but it's kind of nice to be able to just like go like that and like, oh, okay, my heart rate's at, you know, 65, and I've already gotten, let's see how many steps, about 5,000 steps today.
Oh man, you got my butt kicked.
So that's like, dude, not to go off on a tangent, but for my wife is constantly kicking my butt. She's doing like 15,000 steps a day. So it's kind of cool. Like there's like this competition aspect of having this type of fitness tracking. Plus it's right there, and you don't have to open up an app on your phone, and you don't even have to have your phone with you if you don't want to take a walk with your phone or go biking or running. So I guess that's really the draw. Anyway, moving on to Mac OS High Sierra. That is the latest version of the Mac OS, and I couldn't really tell what was all that new, other than some Safari updates, which, let's face it, who the heck is using Safari anymore?
You know what, I got something to interject here, like just as an overall setup. First of all, like I love Apple stuff as a general rule, and I want them to give me a reason to get something they have. But there was times during that presentation I had to pause the audio because it was so cringy of like attempts at jokes and humor. Where it's like it's like watching like Curb Your Enthusiasm. Like it's just too much, and I was like, no, I can't. Like stop making these jokes, please.
You didn't like the Wii jokes and the.
Those were actually the better ones, honestly, because it's like boom, a joke, and then they're done. But there's other ones where it's like, ah, man, like I think I've already blocked them from my brain because now they're jumping to me. But like 3 times I turned my audio off so I couldn't hear what they were saying.
There were definitely some pretty. I would describe them as decent dad jokes.
No, like the random weed jokes and high jokes and whatnot. It's like, okay, fine. Those are fine. Like those aren't cringy, but there's other moments where it's just like, this is painful to watch.
Yeah, if I had to make an observation about like the personalities that they had demonstrating, there was the guy, I forget what he was showing. It might have been the guy showing the hardware. There was quite a few moments where I think maybe 5 or 10 years ago, there would have been lots of cheering after every little, sentence that, and this, and then there'd be some like loud cheering, but it felt at moments that the clapping and cheering was sparse and then even kind of reluctant and then just not there at times.
Well, if this was an hour-long presentation, it would be people like on their seats clapping, like, you know what I mean? Like it was over 2 hours, like 2.5 hours. So, I mean, there's definitely things in here that are like, and then we made it a little thinner and everyone's like, yeah, you did it again. I mean, but
yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Totally. But that's also like Apple's fault in a way. It's like they continuously push and change and do so many things where they're like, look, the battery life's even better. And they're like, yay, no, awesome. But they're like, no, we really worked hard on this. And I know what you mean, but that might be a
well, you set a bar. They set a bar pretty high for themselves early on, and then for a good solid 3-5 years, it was like every show was like, oh my God, this is insane. I never even thought about this. And now they've kind of plateaued. And so that expectation is still there, even though it's kind of unrealistic to be able to like.
This might be a wormhole, but a rat hole, whatever they want to call it. But it's kind of like somebody really good at bowling or something. And then all of a sudden they're like, yeah, I bowled a 300 again. And you're like, yeah, you did that yesterday. But no, this is really hard. Like this, I took a long time to do this, and I'm still doing it. Yeah, I know, but
I wouldn't equate this with a bowling.
When there's a 301, dude, which is impossible, right? So like, it's they continuously do so much stuff. You could tell I love this company. They continuously push and make everything better every time. I mean, but to show up and say, hey, it's better this time, is kind of like a yawn to most people, and me too. Honestly, I wouldn't.
I would think that, yeah, I guess so, but I don't think it's been. I don't think they've been bowling 300 for 5 years. I think they've been slowly going less and less and less, in my opinion. But we can get into that as we get further into the. First of all, Mac OS High Sierra. I don't use Mac OS, so I couldn't really tell what was all that different.
They said they changed the file architecture, and they're changing and they're showing how stuff would copy over like really fast. And I mean, that's true. I mean, the demonstration they did was like, oh, we're going to copy like 2 gigs of video. And then it takes a second and it calculates and goes like, that seemed like a significant speed improvement. So if that's just something that straight up does, like, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, a more modern file system that just needed to happen. They're using similar file systems from like original days, right? So that makes sense.
I just could, when they showed that, I was like, really? Copying files is like a problem on a Mac?
Go do it.
Like,
go. Not while we're recording. Everybody go. Copy and paste. Like, the key is not only on solid states. We don't need to get into hard drive stuff because it's just above the level of my understanding. But file systems themselves are literally, when you duplicate something that's identical, it's literally making a copy of it, which is redundant. It's just stupid and redundant. Your machine shouldn't do that. What your machine should say is, hey, this is identical to this, and it's going to put a new file on your, it's like an instance basically. And that's how a machine should think. Like, hey, here's a copy of this, and now these two are the same. I'm going to show them and make them visually different.
It's like kind of like in Linux, or not Linux, but Unix. When you move a file, it's not really, there's no computational.
Yeah, it's just telling it where that is, not.
Yeah, it's that to me. I just never knew that this was a problem in the Mac OS before until I saw that demo, and I was like, oh, weird.
Most file systems are redundant that way, and more modern systems are popping up that could say, hey, we could save space and save speed and do all this stuff if we treat where the file is and the index. It's kind of like the file itself's big, but then the little thing that says where the file is this little piece. It's this little like note card that says, oh, I know which door is this file is. And again, there are obviously people that really actually understand this, but this is my basic understanding of it. There's the actual file, and then your computer keeps a tab on where it is, because it's spread out all over the hard drive too. It's like sometimes a file is a little bit written here and a little bit over here, and at least on magnetic media. And now it's basically simplifying that process. It's taking the index, and I'm already talking over my head, so I should shut up because I don't fully understand it. Oh yeah. If you have an email, just send it to Chris, and he'll delete it for me. Let's move on to something I do know slightly more about.
Was there anything else in the OS? Nothing's jumping out to me.
Well, they had some stuff about photo editing or something, but I all of that, like, anytime I see first of all, I truly believe that Apple, and I'm willing to argue this point, has completely dropped the ball on photo management and just dealing with photos. And they've lost that game. They lost that battle to Google, I think, with Google Photos when Google Photos came out. And I think they're still trying to hold on to some sort of ability to manage your photos, or some sort of like edge that they may have had 4 or 5 years ago. But that'll slide into another conversation about them just not really understanding how to utilize the cloud as well as other systems when it comes to managing and storing your photos on the cloud, accessing them, searching for them, all that sort of thing. And I do think they made some cloud announcement, right? Some like iCloud. I'm looking for it.
Yeah, this is another podcast everyone could go back and listen to. That might be one of the earlier ones of our group podcast, but it took me a long time to get out of the Apple ecosystem software-wise and move to something like even Gmail and Google Calendars. It was a big move for me. And ever since I did, any announcement about some brand new, photo management or calendar thing or whatever is, that's when I take a potty break. You know what I mean? That stuff's not for me. I have that stuff figured out, and we could probably talk about that on other podcasts, but yeah, I rely more and more on Google. I rely less and less on Apple for some of the software stuff. I think their messages and things like that is brilliant, the way that they set all that stuff up. But for photos, email, a lot of that iCloud stuff, contacts, I barely use those things.
You don't pay for the iCloud, whatever, terabyte?
I do. I pay for the terabyte, and that's only as an iPhone backup. That's for like my phone.
They make you pay for that? They make you pay to back up your iPhone?
wirelessly, yeah, on the cloud.
You have a certain amount, I think, automatically, and I never upgraded, so my phone is constantly yelling at me that I don't have enough storage on iCloud to back it up.
See, that's what happens to everyone I know. That my wife has an iPhone, and like her phone is constantly running out of space, and I'm like, well, what? Why? Well, I can't ever back it up because I don't have enough space, and I'm like, oh my god, like that's insane.
So okay, well, how does Google? Where does your Google stuff go? Google Drive.
Your Google stuff is your Google stuff, you know. So,
but if you take a photo on your camera right now,
yeah, right.
Where does it go if your phone blew up right away?
It immediately gets uploaded to Google Photos, and then all the photos on my phone are automatically synced to Google Photos. And if I want to free up space, I can just hit a button, and it finds all the redundant photos on my phone and deletes them off my phone.
Yeah,
and I get free unlimited photo storage. So that's where I'm like, why are they charging people?
Well, it's the philosophy of Apple versus Google. Google is saying, here, bring us all your stuff because we're going to archive it and we're going to scan it for things that you might want to buy, and then we're going to serve you ads. That's Google's entire model. Just so everyone, like, we can cut to the punchline here, but the Google versus Apple ecosystem is, hey, everyone, this is free. I'm Google. This is free. Put all your stuff here in your contacts and your email and your searching and everything that you do in your browser. Because what we want to do is track you and understand who you are as a person so that we could serve up relevant ads to you. Because the way that Google makes money is not from you. They make it by selling your data to advertisers. So Google says, give us your data, give us your files, give us your photos, and we're going to give you more relevant ads based on who you are as a person. Apple says, we're not going to do that. We're going to make you pay for it. That's why Apple has no other way to put your stuff on a server for free. They say, you give us money, we'll put your photos on a server so that if you lose your phone, we'll get them back to you. But what they're not doing is what Google is doing, is looking at every photo to like face scan it and to maybe, sell you some Gatorade, whatever they're selling. Right. So
I don't know if that's entirely accurate with photos. I think you can, I would have to do more research, but let me believe that
you don't have to do the research. I'll tell you, they are looking at every piece of data, and this is fine as long as everyone knows what's happening. And this is why I've switched to Gmail. I get what's going on. They're looking at my emails. They're scanning it. They're seeing what words I use and putting advertising and understanding what I like and what I don't like. Everyone's doing this, right? Everyone except Apple. Apple made a stance. We're not going to scan your stuff. We're not going to archive it. We're not going to serve you ads based on your personality. Instead, what you do with Apple is you pay. When you're an Apple customer, you are the customer of Apple as an Apple user. This is how I see it, and this isn't only my language. A lot of people say this. When you are a customer of Apple, and we can get into the bigger reasons I like this company. When you're a customer of Apple, the relationship is very clear. I give you money, and you give me the product that I'm paying for. When you're in a relationship with Google, you are not the customer. The advertisers are the customer. The advertisers pay Google. That's where Google makes their money. You are the product. You are the product, and the people that pay the ads are the customer. Then and it's just a business model difference. You could just
I'm totally fine with that.
Okay, I'm fine with that too.
I'm totally fine with that.
Like
if it means better services and better more targeted ads even that actually relate to what I'm interested in, then that's totally fine. If it ever got invasive or I started noticing some sort of, I don't know, strangeness in terms of what they were serving me, or maybe I felt uncomfortable, I would definitely leave the ecosystem. I'm not like a hardcore evangelist. If it's not doing what I want, I'm not going to stick around. But yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. The price that you're paying is it's somebody has to pay for the Google services. These apps and all this stuff is not developed for free. I don't think anybody is really Well, maybe there are people out there that don't understand what they're selling when they go into the ecosystem of
Right.
Google. Although I will say it's a bit different for me because I own a Google phone, and Google, if you own a Google phone, you get certain unlimited photo storage capabilities that are not part of the public Google Photos ecosystem.
Yeah, let me take a step back just for a second. And Chris, I want to know where you are in this debate too, because let me take a step back and just make sure everyone's clear, because the internet has a way of dividing people. No matter how similar everyone is, they'll find a way to like find their subtle differences, right? I don't really have any reason to convince anyone to be a Google person or a Mac person or a PC person or anything. I think if people are happy, I think they should stay happy. And so even yesterday, talking about the Mac, there were people that are like, classic like PC versus Mac stuff that's been happening forever. Can't believe it. Wake up, sheeple. You know, paying double the price for half the hardware. I know. I understand the relationship I'm in with this company, and by me wanting a computer doesn't mean that you don't also get to have the computer that you want. So in a lot of ways, I want to make sure when I argue for what I enjoy about Apple and about their whole philosophy, I understand that there's other ways to do it. I think Google is doing a fine job. I don't think Google is being manipulative. I'm not scared of what Google's up to. I just prefer to have a very clear relationship and say, okay, I know why I'm paying. So when this is all to say, in answer to your question, I don't understand why Apple would pay. Well, it's because they have no other way to pay for that server space. They say, we'll keep your photos safe. We'll keep everything on your phone safe. It'll cost you whatever it is, $100 a year. I don't even know the cost. It's not a ton. So
I guess that's true. I mean, and again, if it were a better system, I would happily pay for it. But when I had an iPhone, I was confused by their entire iCloud backing up photos and clearing space off your phone type of workflow. I just think they haven't solved that yet. And if they could make that simpler and easier, so every grandparent with an iPhone is able to get their grandkids' photos off their phone and not delete them every time they get a new phone, then that's success. And it just doesn't feel like it's quite there yet.
I'm with you.
But anyway, moving on to
I have nothing to add to that.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, we could talk about the iPad, but I'm not really into the iPads unless you guys really want.
I don't have much to say on it. Like, I was in the market for a new iPad because I actually use it. I have a second generation iPad. It was before the mini, or before they start calling them the new iPad. So it's pretty dang slow at this point. But it's my like bedtime device. Like, it's to catch up on news and check email and wake up on the weekends and see what's going on with the news. So I really like it. So it's time for an upgrade, and I like the improvements on this one. And I'll probably get an iPad Pro. Like, and it's, as far as all the iOS stuff that they had for watches and the phone and everything, I thought the best looking stuff was on the iPad, where like all the multitasking stuff, and I liked the overall vibe and some of the sketch capabilities and whatnot. So yeah, I'm kind of excited for that one. It's honestly the only thing. It was the only takeaway for me. The only useful thing for me from the entire thing was like, oh look, an iPad. I'm in the market for a new tablet because mine is just too slow. It's hard to watch a YouTube video now. So this one looks pretty good.
Yeah, that's exactly why I want to update YouTube. Your iPad's getting slow when you can't watch a YouTube video.
Oh yeah.
Mine, I have an old. It's actually here for some reason. I don't know why it's sitting on the desk, but I have an old mini, first generation, old screen and all that. And I use it for YouTube videos. I'll watch like a lot of piano lessons when I'm practicing all my piano stuff. I'll pull up a YouTube video and it's barely playing. It takes a while to even, like, you type it in and then the keyboard, it takes like 8 seconds to even feel the typing go through. So yeah, I'm going to look at the pros as well, because I like the idea of sketching. You guys know how much I like to like doodle and sketch crap. So I feel like if I had a place to just put it and say it'll just save it automatically, and I don't have a stack of papers anymore, that'd be kind of nice.
The one thing I looked up was I've completely converted like all of my note taking over to Microsoft OneNote, because it's just syncing really well between all the machines. It kind of works the way my brain works. I was like, is OneNote available on the iPad? And it was. I was like, okay, I'm buying it.
Wow, I'm surprised that was actually available. I wouldn't think that they would, but that's great.
It's a free app, and it looks like it does everything it does on like the browser version.
Good for you, Microsoft, actually being open. It's not really their history, but yeah, I think the iPad
it is a light version versus the full version, but it does a vast majority of things that I use it for casually.
Mm-hmm.
So,
by the way, but just before, I know everybody wants us to start talking about the dang iMac, and I do too. But literally one of the first things they announced was that Amazon Prime is coming to Apple TV, and that's big on my happy list. I use Apple TV for everything, and that was the holdout, right? It was like, we have everything. You could log into all these things and Hulu and Netflix. We got it all, but because we're in a fight with Amazon, we're not going to put this on here. And it's the same thing with the AMD and NVIDIA thing. It's just a fight. Like, they're having a fight with NVIDIA, and they don't put the dang correct video cards in there. They did the same thing with Amazon. And I was really surprised to see it, especially with all the speaker rumors, which turned out to be true, that they're kind of competing with the Echo and all that kind of stuff. I was surprised to see that was like the first announcement. So, not 3D related, but after the 3D or while you're rendering, you could now go watch Amazon stuff on your Apple TV. I thought that was cool.
Is there? I can only think of one thing I'd want to mention outside of the actual new Mac hardware. Of all the OS stuff that they were updating for the mobile platforms, the thing I'm most excited for in the abstract is the AR kit, that they're adding more designated tools for augmented reality, because there is not a killer, I guess you could argue Pokemon Go, but there's not a killer AR app. But one day in the future, AR is going to be everything. Like, it's going to be the thing, is like seeing the world through your phone, or things like linking directly to what you're seeing, possibly some sort of glasses or contacts or who knows what. One day, augmented reality will be everything. And anything that's pushing that forward, I think, is really cool. Yeah,
that demo was fun. I'll add one thing to the iOS stuff, and maybe we can go through that. Is that okay, Chad? Can we move on to iOS?
Go for it.
I thought the do not disturb feature was my favorite. Do not disturb while driving is, I think, what they called it. And I think those are the things that make me enjoy Apple a lot, when they say, hey, we put a thing on your phone that when you're traveling really fast near a highway, because we see that, right? Mm-hmm. When you're traveling really fast near a road, we pop a thing up and say, hey, are you driving? And like a little reminder to say, will you wait? And then not only that, when you hit are you driving, like, it goes into a separate driving mode. And then I thought it was kind of clever. It'll also, if you want it to, let anybody that texts you, let them know, hey, I'm driving right now, I'm not responding, but this will show up as soon as I get to where I'm going. And it also gave them a way to like push through that whole thing by, like, I think you type urgent, and then it pushes through and actually gets through to the user. I think it's things like that make me happy, like make me happy that those things are standard on a phone, that starts to get put into the culture.
No, that's good that they did that, because I'm going to be that guy for a second.
Yeah, I knew this was coming.
You knew this was coming. You knew I was going to bring it up. Android Auto's had this on your phone for, I think, about a year now. So if those of you at home watching, I'm showing you guys. Let me see if I can get it to.
Yeah, your white's not showing up.
Let me bring this.
I believe. You are pretty trustworthy, Chad. I believe you.
There it is. All right. So you can see Patrick Goski sent me a text.
Okay.
And if I'm in Android Auto, I can either choose to listen or reply, or I can just hit a button that says I'm driving right now. And it'll reply to him saying, hey, listen, I'm driving right now. I'll text you later. But anytime that my Bluetooth kicks on, this is basically a version of, it's kind of like their CarPlay. And when you're in the car, cool. It automatically pops up. And I think, and I'm not doing it to be like, we did it first, but I do think it's really important. It's an important thing, because texting and driving is a huge issue with me. Like I do not, I'm very anti texting and driving. So if anything you can do through voice or just telling people, hey, just give me 10 minutes, I'm driving, I'll call you or I'll see you when I get there. I think that's fantastic. And I'm glad that there's that sort of like feature parity across iPhone and Android, because it's a huge thing.
They're doing a software update that's going to automatically save like hundreds of lives. So this is only a good thing.
Yeah. No, that's great. I didn't
use it
out of ignorance. I didn't know that existed. I think anybody that wants to have that stuff come on, I think those are the things that I'm always excited to see, more than some of these, weird features where I'm like, am I really going to pay people through text and all that kind of stuff?
I thought that was cool. Like me and my friends, to shift over to that specifically, you're saying like when you're in a text, someone could say like, oh, like blah, blah, we went to this, you owe me $20, and you can click that and then go through Apple Pay, put your thumbprint on it, and then boom, you sent them $20. Me and my friends have started, like all the time we're going to the movie theater and it's like, oh, okay, this person's bought all the tickets, so we all owe money. We've been using Chase Quick Pay to pay each other all the time now. So the more that, like, because money is just an abstract concept anyway, like the more I can just be like, okay, like this percentage of my wealth has been transferred over to you and I can just do it with my thumbprint. Right. That's pretty cool. Like the more of that we can do, the better it is across the board.
Well, let me finish my thought, because I totally agree. And I like that feature. But that's a feature that they put in because now you get to use more Apple Pay. Like that's a very Apple selfish feature, but that also solves a problem that you do. What I'm saying is these things of like, hey, we're actually going to not let you use your phone. Like we're actually going to take this device that we sold you and then put in things that like force you not to use it. That's like a very unselfish thing to do as a company. It's like it's not helping their bottom line at all, but they're actually, like you said, literally saving lives by asking you, hey, are you driving? Can we set this up for you? And making it a one push thing to say, okay, I'm driving now. I'm in the driving mode.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I love that feature too. I guess those are the things that get me excited about being a part of the ecosystem.
That was the best joke of the show as well. It was like, and we've designed this brand new interface for when you're driving, and it just shows the black screen. I think it was the one.
That's great.
That's funny. Yeah. So that, I guess, you know what, we let's just jump right in. I feel like everybody's been listening this far. They're like, when are they going to talk about the stupid iMac Pro? Let's get to it already.
Let's face it. They fast forward.
I think we all just knew we had to end on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even going to spend any time talking about the speaker, because it's like, I'm just going to go off on it, basically.
Wait, well, I got one kind of general thing to say, and it's not specifically about the speaker, but here's where I'm a little disappointed in Apple overall, and not this show, but just Apple pretty much post Steve Jobs Apple. Is Apple used to be the ones being like, here's a thing, we're pushing the industry this direction, we came up with this cool new idea, and everybody else is racing to catch up. But now repeatedly on pretty big things where it's like, oh, we're making devices of different scales. Oh, we're making a speaker device that has Siri. It's like, well, you're like the fourth product to come out that does this now. It feels like you're playing catch up. And it didn't used to feel like Apple was playing catch up. And now it constantly feels like they're playing catch up. And overall, that's where like like I know there's a whole Apple distortion field thing where,
well,
but if they were coming out with new stuff first, then that distortion field is justified. But afterward, it's not. When it's like, oh, look, like we've got the best iPad we've ever had. It's like, well, that just means you added 1 more meg of RAM at a minimum, and it's now the best iPad you've ever had. That statement carries no weight.
I think everybody uses that phrasing, though. I've noticed on like even Google I/O, it's like, this is the best blank we've ever made. It's only because that's the latest.
No, well, but to me, that statement is meaningless. Like, this is the best thing we've ever.
It means nothing.
Like, no, tell me you've doubled something. Tell me you've tripled something. Like, that has meaning. But it's the best. That just means you +1'd it.
Well, the speaker, I think, kind of, maybe the speaker does kind of embody everything that you just described there, because Siri is broken. Siri is a terrible assistant. Everybody knows that. Even I didn't know that, but I've only used Siri, so I'm curious. So what you think the differences are. You don't use Siri is just fails on almost every level when it compares to like Echo or Google Assistant in terms of delivering you pertinent information and being able to contextualize what you're asking it. It fails. And that's what I was really hoping to see. More than the speaker, I was hoping for them to say, Siri is now awesome, and here's why. And instead, it was like, hey, all these other speaker companies are doing smart home speakers where you can talk to an assistant. We're going to be audiophiles and like just make a really good sounding speaker. And it's like, well, okay, but that doesn't fix the fact that I can't really talk to Siri and get contextual information about my day, about my calendar. I can't interact with it the way that I can with my Amazon Echo or my Google Home. Or it's just now a really good sounding speaker with a mediocre AI assistant. And now I know that sounds like the biggest first world.
That was
like,
going to say, like,
lamest,
it's terrible.
I know, like, as soon as it came out of my mouth, I was like, oh, dude.
My AI assistant isn't very good.
I know, exactly. Yeah. so I just don't get it, man. Like, I look at that thing and it looks like a roll of toilet paper. And I got to credit my buddy Patrick sent me a roll of toilet paper sitting next to the white HomePod, and I'm like, oh my God, it totally looks like a roll of toilet paper.
I mean, it looks like a really cushy toilet paper, though. Like
right? Yeah, stuff. It's good stuff. It's definitely like triple ply Charmin quality.
There's no Scott BS.
This is not no single ply Scott.
Look good.
But I mean, I can't really complain. I have a Google Home and it looks like an air freshener. I mean, it literally looks like an air freshener. But I don't think of that. I guess it was smart where they were like, hey, listen, we're playing catch up to the home speaker thing. Siri kind of sucks. And for us to like really, make Siri awesome, it's just not going to happen in a year. Why don't we do what all of the other speaker companies haven't done and make a really good sounding speaker? Like that to me, okay, that was a strategy. Not for me. And I don't listen to music on my little home speaker. I just kind of use it to really, honestly, I don't use it that much. And in fact, I don't think we've seen a smart home speaker really come into its own yet. That's just my opinion. I have the home. So just to be clear, I have an Apple TV and I have a Google Chromecast. And I use them kind of both interchangeably. So it's not that I'm not familiar with one or the other. I have the Google Home, and I don't use it as much as I think I thought I would when I got it. In fact, it's usually just used to solve arguments. Like, hey, I thought this movie came out in this year. No, it came out in this year. And then you just like ask it a question. So it's kind of stupid. Anyway, yeah. So.
Well, let me
move on, or what do you want?
I do want to move on. I would be upset at myself if I was listening to this if I didn't bring up Sonos, because I love Sonos. I love we as a family.
I have a Sonos as well. Yeah.
Yeah, as a family, we listen to a ton of music at our house when I come home, cooking and waking up, and parties at our place, or just having family over. It's just like constant music at our house, and Sonos is an amazing product. I was hoping, and even after saying that, I was hoping that Apple would come up with something that would make me like rethink the Sonos thing, because I do like the idea of it being a part of Apple TV. I do like a part of it that I already have an Apple TV hooked up to all my stereo systems. So this would just be a really easy way to have it all play together and not have to use the Sonos architecture. But they did not do that. My buddy and I were kind of talking on Twitter a little bit back and forth of like, well, here it is. I'm selling all my Sonos stuff. And then by the end of the demo, we both were like, nah, I'm going to keep my Sonos. So I'm interested that they're getting into that space. You're right. Siri is not perfect. I would use it more of like more for music. But I think the like directional sound thing is also a little bit weird. Like I kind of don't want my speaker to follow me around and point audio at it. Like I think that solves a problem that a lot of people have, which is they always put speakers in a bad place. They don't know how to place them. And I think they're doing some smart things there to say like, hey, maybe I'll turn down the bass if I'm too close to the wall, or whatever kind of tech they have. But I've always been obsessed with where my speakers are placed. So I kind of want to like know if I could turn that kind of stuff off and just say, can you just be a really good speaker over here? But yeah, I'm glad more people are into it. And let's talk about iMacs.
All right, here we go.
Here we go.
iMac.
Put on your helmets.
Air quotes Pro.
No, sorry. Actually, guys, I got to go. This was running a little bit late.
All right, see you, bro.
Tune in next week.
Yeah, no, as soon as no, let's how do we even start to talk about this thing? So I mean, let's set some context here really quickly. You know, our industry has been pushing towards PC and building your own systems for a couple reasons. One is graphics cards, Octane, people moving into these GPU renders, and the ability to add more cards. And let me know if I'm messing this up, Chad. The ability to add more cards and to basically build your own machines is a much bigger thing now that GPU is a thing. Also, let's add on top of that Mac and Apple dropped the ball on continuing to make high-end machines. They came out with the trash can, which nobody liked. I didn't buy. I bought every new fast Mac that came out for however many years, from 2000 and as soon as I could afford the newest Mac as like as an adult with a job, I bought the newest, fastest Mac I could for every other year from 2005 until 2011, I think it was, or 12. And that was the last time they came out with a Mac Pro, what I love the name of, called the cheese grater Mac, which is the big, you know, the old G5 kind of Mac.
I still think that's a gorgeous piece of hardware too.
It's gorgeous. I have one out in the studio still. It's like I'm on an iMac here, but I still have my old 12 core out there doing some team render when I need it to. So, but ever since then, that's still one of the fastest Macs you could buy. I'm sorry, it's one of the fastest Macs you can't buy is this 12 core iMac that's sitting out there. Trash cans didn't do well. And now we're sitting here in a world where most people are moving away from Mac because they dropped the ball on us. They come out with video cards that are not compatible with all these new GPU renders. And then about a few months ago, Apple announced that they're going to start to make a new Mac Pro. They're going to rethink the whole thing. But they said it won't be. They promised, and I like that promise, but they said it won't be available till next year. Yeah, they said it won't be available till next year. And so I'm sitting here waiting, right? I got my saliva, I'm like waiting to buy this new machine. And then what they do yesterday is they announce a new iMac. So that sets the stage for what happened yesterday. So now this new iMac comes out, and what'd you guys think?
I thought, okay. I thought, first of all, I didn't know what was going to happen or what was going to be announced in terms of, I didn't think they were going to actually announce a new iMac Pro. I thought it was just going to be a bunch of new laptops. So it did kind of catch me off guard. And I immediately thought, okay, so this is a stopgap solution, a way to sort of appease the pro market until they can scramble and figure out what this new pro machine is going to be. And that's really, to me, what it was. It was like, all it is an iMac with the latest, well, not even the latest, 2016 Kaby Lake processors and a new color. And other than that, maybe a bit more I/O.
It is a really good color.
It is a great looking color.
But it's like, really, guys, come on. Like, and I really think that my problem is beyond the iMac Pro. It's just the iMac line in general, is that you're just tied to this 2-in-1, and you can't get inside there. You can't update it. Everything has to be external.
It's the ultimate in not being able to reconfigure it.
Right, exactly. And really, I think that's really where Apple, as a philosophy, they've gone astray. And it used to be about options, and that's what they don't get about the new consumer. The new consumer wants options. The new consumer wants to be able to change their system, get more RAM, do what they need to do to keep their system relevant, and not essentially buy a machine every 2 years or every year. I mean, it's great that they made the Mac Pro recyclable, because if the monitor dies, there, you might as well just go bury it in the backyard. It's just, to me, a silly, antiquated idea, I guess. And I understand everyone wanting to hold on to the OS, because I personally am jealous of the OS. It's a beautiful OS. It looks great. I'm sure I would love it if I used it every day. But there comes a time in which you just are going to have to come to the realization that they just don't get it. And the OS becomes less important, I think, once you've taken or dipped your first toe into the alternate universe of Windows, and see that it's really not as bad as you think. You get more bang for your buck. You're not locked to the screen. It's not locked to your actual PC. So if you have a problem with your PC, you don't have to. See, right now, if I had a problem with my PC, I could send it out, or I could take it to a place, but I still have a monitor sitting right in front of me that I could plug my laptop in and still work. But with an iMac, I hope you have an extra monitor hanging around, because you take that thing in for service and you don't have a machine. So the whole idea of the iMac, that's more of like an iMac problem than the iMac Pro problem. My biggest problem with iMac Pro is the price. I think it's just ridiculously overpriced for what you get. That's my take.
As a question, and I guess maybe this might just been me being dumb, but my first instinct on that was, this is their Pro option.
I thought
like
that too.
This is like, there's not going to be another announcement of like a Mac Pro tower. Like, this is the Pro machine now.
I said that exact same thing on our Slack. I was like, I thought this was it, like, because they didn't say anything.
Yeah, they didn't say like, wait.
This is just the little something to keep you, not hating us too much.
That's just not how they talk, though. They never talk about the future of things. Whatever's right in front of them is the most important, newest, best thing ever. That's just their language. I don't think they would say that on stage of like, well, this is okay though, right, guys? And the next one though is going to be really, like, that's just not how you market a product. But I'm with you. I think the real Pro machine is going to be next year, and in maybe in some ways, maybe they're going to see how this sells. They're going to say, we're going to price it accordingly. We're going to cram the biggest.
That is not priced accordingly, dude. But okay.
Listen, yes, it is. It's expensive. Like, we're going to make an expensive machine only for these people and see if they come and buy it. And if nobody goes and buys it, maybe they're going to go, screw this market, we're done, and maybe not do the next machine. But I think it is a stepgap. I think it is not their Pro machine that they promised. But
yeah, I think you're right. I think it's an experiment more than anything. I think you're right. I think they're going to look at it and they're going to say, okay, it's either going to prove so there's probably some people at Apple that are like, listen, there's no money in the Pro market. Just let them do what they're going to do. Forget it. Then there's probably a sector that's probably like, no, this is important to us. This is important to our DNA. We have to do this. So I wouldn't doubt if this product and that 18 core version is a test bed. It's going to either fund or defund the upcoming modular Mac that we might see at some point.
Yeah, and I'm worried about it too, because I think let me try to talk for two different types of people, because I want to make sure people understand that I personally think that if you are new to if you're new to this industry, first of all, put that into consideration, and second of all, if you are not super excited about Macs or PCs, you're just like, what do I buy? Then the answer is PC. Just go get the PC, get it built, go build your own, do whatever you want, but end up with a Windows machine. So let me make that clear.
Did that just happen right now? Can we just rewind that for a second?
Yeah. There's no I don't feel the need to convince anybody that they should go buy a Mac. I think for a family, I think if you're new to computers in general, and you're not going to do Cinema 4D, like if this was a different podcast for, just people that want to create their art and like learn Photoshop and whatever, go buy a Mac. Absolutely. I'm talking to Cinema 4D artists that are looking to like get the most out of their machine, and in the current state of computing right now, I have no problem saying go buy a PC. If you're not if you're not already in Apple's warm embrace, go move while you can. Don't let them wrap their beautiful, warm, loving arms.
Don't fall in love.
And just,
You're
but
just
then
gonna get hurt.
No. It's more like you're gonna get addicted. It's an addiction. So now let me talk to the people that say that are already in the Mac world. Now this is where it gets tricky. This is where this answer is more nuanced.
I have an answer for that one too. So
yeah. So if you already are in Mac world, love, and you're, you bought the trash can, maybe you thought that was going to be a thing. You had the Mac Pros, and you're still on the fence. I don't know the answer. This is where the actual conversation exists for those people. And Windows people, they're just going to buy another Windows machine. They don't care. They're just making.
Yeah, there's nobody being converted.
Yeah. So let's just be clear of who we're talking to. We're talking to Apple people that have been Apple people that are loving their Apple experience and are frustrated with the hardware, which I am one of those people. Love the software, frustrated about the hardware. So this machine comes out. It is expensive for an iMac for sure. But I mean, do you guys want to take a guess of what like this fully spec'd out one is? Is that possible? Is
15,000?
15 fully spec'd.
Just a guess.
Oh, okay. That's a guess. Yeah. I was going to say 10. Yeah.
I'm talking like with the maxed out RAM.
Yeah. The biggest hard drive.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think you're looking at a very ridiculously overpriced system in my opinion.
So let's call it 10 to 15. I think that's a safe bet. 10 to 15 is going to be fully, 18 core, enough RAM, and all this stuff.
I think I want to go back to your original point though, because I really think that number one, I didn't expect you to say it, and then once you said it, it kind of sunk in. What you're saying is if you want to do 3D and you haven't made a decision yet, or maybe you're about to, then don't go into the Apple ecosystem because it's just not going to work out.
Not for your main machine. Get an iPhone, buy an iPad.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'll get to that because I have an idea there that I think people will like. However, it is kind of like it's true. Now, I think you spoke to the people that are in that situation, but I think there's also a group of people, a pretty large group of people that made the investment. Maybe they bought the trash can, or maybe they still are running it on a cheese grater, and they're just holding out hope that something's going to give, something's going to happen. Like they're going to drop some major awesome machine. Here's the thing. I don't think it's going to happen, but there's good news. You just need to think about how you work a little bit differently. Yeah, you're going to have to think about your workstation being a PC because that has more of a future, that has more of, for a professional workflow, it's going to give you more options, and options is good. More options is good for you. Doesn't mean that you have to give up your Apple ecosystem, because there's a tool out there called Synergy that allows you to run multiple machines on separate monitors, and you can just move your mouse from one to the other. It's not a KVM switch. It's not like a hard, you don't have to have two keyboards and two mice. You could literally buy a nice Mac laptop and run all of your personal stuff on it, sitting right there as your second monitor to your PC that you only use for Cinema 4D, Octane, whatever. And you could live in both worlds really easily and not have to give up that personal experience that you might be familiar with Apple Mail, Calendar, whatever, all the stuff that you love about those products. So there is a solution, and it's not really new to a lot of people working in the film industry. And people in the film industry, they work on a Linux machine. Now they're at a studio, of course, but if you're working on a Linux machine, you're not going to be chatting with people on your on some chat client on your Linux machine. Maybe you are, but there's no iMessage. You're not going to put Facebook on that, you know? So
do they have Spotify yet?
No. So the idea of like, it's kind of a good idea to start thinking about separating your work machine from your personal machine. And that synergy program is really cool because you don't have to, it's basically a second screen is actually a second computer. So you could start to think about working and separating those out a little bit, and that might make this decision a little bit easier for you.
I like that. I'm thinking of all the people I know and have worked with that had their main machine, even if it was regardless of what brand it was, they would have a main machine, but then they would have their laptop next to them.
Mm-hmm.
And then their laptop was where they would check their email and Facebook and whatever they were, doing all that stuff. Like, I'll just call it like all the Google stuff, right? Like, anyway, most of it. But I also still have access to all my Mac apps and all the fun stuff I want. And then I reach up and I grab the mouse on my Windows machine, and this is where I'm doing my cinema.
Well, that's what's cool about the synergy thing. You don't have to like change your mouse or go to you can just like literally like, it's like having a second screen, and that's your laptop.
Yeah, that's intriguing. I have to look into that.
And so that to me was like, that's actually kind of cool, because it's basically how freelancers have kind of always worked. Because if you're a freelancer and you're going to a studio, you don't want to sit down at some random workstation they put you at and start checking your Facebook or iMessaging people and changing all of the stuff to make it more like your stuff. You don't. You have a laptop that you bring with you to every gig, and you open it up, and that's where you're answering the emails about your next job and all that sort of thing. So a little bit of separation there is actually, it could help you make that transition.
But we are now on, like, Nick's saying this is a 2011, 2012 like machine that you're still working off of. You're a person who buys the best hardware you can for the Mac, and you're still running a 2012 machine. So like we're quickly getting on like 6 years of Apple dropping the ball for you, and they've given us no reason to think that like a year from now we're going to be thinking any differently. Because when they came to the trash can, they were like, "Hey, look, we know we dropped the ball. We're back. We got the trash can." And it was like, "Nope." And now they're saying it again.
So yeah, the question is, are you going to buy one of these, Nick?
Well, so this leads me to where I was going with the original thought. If I only played in cinema for most of my job, and I was a freelancer, and I was doing that for a living, I would absolutely be looking even heavier into a PC, and maybe already on one, especially if I had clients, right? So now let me talk as Nick, as someone who still plays in Cinema 4D, but I don't have clients, and we make tutorials, obviously. But a lot of those don't need heavy rendering. I don't personally use Octane, so the video card thing is still tough. I am on an iMac, so Chris, I'm currently on the 5K iMac right now, and it does well. Like any tutorial that you've seen from me over the last 2 years, I'm talking to the audience now, has been recorded on this machine. So it's perfectly capable for what I need it to do. And then also I still get the warm Apple hug whenever I want it. It's right here. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful machine. It's simple. I get to stay in the Apple warm embrace, right? So for me, the idea that I already have this iMac that I love, it's super capable for me right now. Team Render allows me to use all the hardware that I have out here. And if I did get a new machine, it would be that much faster, that much better as far as performance. And I would be able to take this machine and put it out in the office and use that for Team Render. Like, it has a lot of upsides, but I do understand that it is potentially a stopgap. But now again, I'm talking about me as someone who doesn't use Cinema 4D all day as my career, as my job. Like,
but couldn't you? Let me give you a different way of looking at it. Like, why not? Why not say, okay, you know what? I love my Apple Hug. I'm gonna get that with my laptop, or keep your iMac there as a second screen, whatever, and kind of walk in both worlds. Be able to get the PC, try out the latest NVIDIA renderer, but then also keep getting your Mac Hug for all of your email, all of your day-to-day, all that sort of thing, and save potentially $5,000 in the process, if depending if you were going to buy the upcoming iMac Pro that's fully spec'd out. Because you could get a machine for the price of the iMac Pro right now. What is it, 8-core? What's the base level one? Whatever it is, you could get the base level one, I think, for $5 or $6 grand. You can get a really good PC for that, and probably a MacBook Pro for the price of what they're going to charge for the top one. And then you would have a really awesome laptop and get your Apple Mac Hug, and you'd have a more forward-thinking Cinema 4D machine. So there is that.
I tell you that it doesn't sound too far off. And I've talked about this in the past, but the big part of Apple and the ecosystem is the whole, like, I don't consider myself a computer person. In the past I would have, but I have no interest in how these boxes do their thing anymore. I have no interest in opening them. I have no interest in blue blinky lights. I have no interest in seeing the inside. The fact that this iMac is literally just a screen looking at me and the computer's just hidden in there somewhere is exactly what I want. That's exactly how I view these machines, as tools to do what I want, not as, like hot rods, like we talked about before. So to me, if I did go PC, it would mean I would need somebody there it would be a lot of training, obviously, to learn where all this stuff goes. And frankly, I would have somebody come in and help me build it and do the whole thing. So
you don't have to build your own. I think that's another misconception too. I think a lot of people there's so many people out there that really love it. And I'm not one of those people either. Like, I don't like, trust me, I'm not the person you want with the computer open with the soldering iron in my hand. I bought, a fully made one, and you can do that. And there's companies that are even more turnkey solution companies that you can go out there and buy your PC from. Now they're more expensive because obviously you're paying for their hardware and their labor in terms of putting it together.
Right. Well, this gets to the point of like the classic Mac PC thing. Oh, I priced it out and you could go buy all these parts.
Right. And that's not me. I'm not that. I don't do that.
Yeah, like
we are literally doing that over here at my house. Like next week, like this Friday, I'm ordering all the parts to one of the programmers' machines.
I mean,
Some people like that.
I love I built a pinball machine that was all digital a few years ago, and I had to build a PC to do it. And I was surprised on how easy it was. Like, literally, I'm following directions and snap the chip in and put the RAM in. And I didn't even buy a case for it. I just screwed it into a piece of plywood. That was the computer, right? Then put it in a pinball machine. I know it's not difficult, but if the pinball machine broke, okay, no biggie. I'll wait till this weekend and kind of snoop around and see if I could, like, replace some RAM or whatever the heck happened. I'm talking about my machine that I live and breathe and run a business on. I kind of have no interest you know what I don't have? I don't have the trust. I don't have the trust of Microsoft and a PC manufacturer at all. Apple has my trust. I've bought machines of theirs for how many years, and I've barely had a problem.
I'll say that if you make your own, that's where you are taking a gamble. And that's what I tell people when they're like, oh, I'm going to go to PC Part Picker and like pick out all my parts and build my machine. And I'm like, okay, cool. But just know that the money you're saving, you're gambling with.
And that's exactly how I see not buying a Mac. All the money I save, and you're right, I would save money. And everyone on that tells me is correct. The thing is you're right. It is much cheaper if I don't do it. But we're talking about something that is literally the tool that I need to run a business, to communicate with my team, to feel like energized towards all day, like a screen I get to look at all day that has beautiful like color depth and pixel depth. That everything about this is exactly what I do all day, and it's hard for me. And I guess what I'm saying is the dollars don't make me look another way, right? Like
right.
it's
no, you're right. And just to be clear, like there are every single PC manufacturer that's any good is going to have a good warranty system. You know, all the PCs that I had at DK, those were HPs, and say what you will about HP, but they do have a service that will come out to your shop and replace the part in 24 hours if it fails, like come to you. So it's not that that level of service that you're used to doesn't exist. It does. And yes, you have to pay a little bit extra for it. But I will say this, even if you buy a PC from a manufacturer with a warranty, it's still going to be probably at least 3 to 10%, maybe even 15% cheaper than a Mac. It's just, that's how it is. Mac has a high premium. But I see what you're saying, and the trust thing I think is not really an issue if you don't build your own and you go with like a reputable place and with a good warranty. I don't think it's a real big issue. And as far as like the hugs, that I'll keep coming back to the Mac hugs, because I know, man, like it's a huge part of why we do what we do. We're designers. We like to look at pretty things. We like to see. We like nicely anti-aliased fonts on our computer. We like these things and we appreciate them. And I would say that back when I had to use Windows, it was really hard, man, because everything looked like crap in Windows 7 and XP. And like, it was just like, oh God, I hate this. Just I can't open my 3D app fast enough so I don't have to look at this desktop. And now I feel like it's better. It's not by any means as hot as like a Mac OS looks, but it's at least tolerable. But again, you could run the dual system. You could run your business on your Mac laptop and then experiment with all the latest crazy stuff happening with GPU rendering on your PC.
All right, here's what I'll say. I'm going to go up.
I'm going to sell you on this before the end of this podcast.
No, I like it. Here, and listen, it's really similar to me. And this is all recorded too. This is really similar to like the "Hey Nick, you should be using Google Apps" episode, where I'm like, oh man, I'm really reluctant to like move off of Apple Mail and all that stuff. And I tell you what, I couldn't live without all my Google stuff now. Like I was reluctant. I have the same feelings now that I did then about moving off of Apple software. And so maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just my attitude of like, no, this is fine, I guess. I'm like the dog in the house with the fire going on, and I'm like, this is fine. I'll be fine. And then once I make the jump and I go outside and I'm like, oh, this is beautiful. This is wonderful. Why didn't I do this before? So I'm totally open to the idea that I may be completely wrong and I should just go do it and bite the bullet. And like you said, it takes a couple weeks to get used to it and then you're in, which is kind of how the Google experience happened. So I'm totally open to that. For me, the pain for me as a user, the way that I use my computer, the pain isn't there yet. The way that it would be if I did cinema for clients all day. So as soon as that pain comes, I'll tell you this. What I'll do is I'll walk out, and if that pain can't be solved with Apple hardware, I will walk out, go to the computer builder up the road, and say, "Hey, are you ready? I'm gonna give you an awesome gig right now. I need you to build."
You have a computer builder up the road. That's pretty rad.
He's like 2 blocks away, and it's a classic computer store. They got all the parts there, but then they have people there that just know so much about it that I'm sure they probably get a kick out of like, you want how many video cards? What are you doing? And so just build the machine, right? And I kind of hope I do that. I think that'd be fun to do in general, and maybe document it and show you guys some of the transition here. I do think it's coming. I'm excited by the iMac. I know we didn't actually talk too much about the iMac. It's more of like the idea of the iMac. And just so everyone knows, the iMac is the current kind of look of the iMac, but a nicer color and also ton better hardware. Like, it is way better hardware. It's not NVIDIA graphics cards, unfortunately, but up to 18 cores and probably pretty expensive and all that stuff. I think it'll be interesting when it comes time to maybe get one. I'll let you guys know where I end up. I love my iMac right now, and that's a big reason why I don't need to upgrade. But again, I'm talking as Nick. I record podcasts and tutorials, and I'm on email and Slack and Google Calendar for most of my day, right? I'm not like literally burning pixels and like rendering. My fans do not speed up as much as you guys might think they do, right? And on an iMac, if my fans were blowing as hard as they do when I start rendering, I would be getting a PC in a minute. So I have no problem telling people, go get the PC. But for me, as soon as that pain hits, I will let you know. So I just want to be clear. I think the right move for almost everybody is to get the PC. I gotta say it.
Yeah, there's the title for our podcast.
Oh my God. I can't believe it. It's Apple, save me. You're hurting me.
Before we sign off, I, being the poll junkie that I am, I sent out a poll to Twitter, and I think it's kind of fun to see where that ended up. I think it expires in a few hours, but so I asked people on Twitter, and I got how many responses did I get? I got about 430 responses. So, and the question was, so this Mac Pro, and the answers were, take my money, over it, already on PC, waiting for modular Mac, or FML. And it's funny how FML was actually a higher percent people voted for FML than take my money.
Wait, what if you added my vote? What if you added one more?
What would you vote for? FML, right? Probably.
I'd probably say take my money for now.
You sound like an FML, more like
I don't know. I'm telling you. As Nick, I'd say take my money. As somebody talking to mostly people that use Cinema 4D all day, I'd say wait. I'd say waiting for the big machine to drop.
Well, anyway, the result was the overwhelming majority of people said over it. I'm already on PC. That's 51%. The next next amount of people, 21%, only 21% said they are waiting for the modular Mac. Only 11% of people polled said they would just take my money. I want it right now. And 17% are just frustrated and say FML. So it's kind of interesting.
Chris, you have an oldish iMac.
That's what I'm podcasting on right now.
Okay,
that's the SGSG machine.
So it's the SGSG machine. I think we bought that. That machine has a weird history. I think it was Dave's original computer, and then it became the SGSG computer. So it's got some life to it, or life on it, and it also doesn't have an SSD, I think. So it runs a little slow in general.
It says iMac, 27-inch, late 2012.
Whoa.
Okay, so it's back, right? What would you say to that poll? Would you want a new iMac to do all of your SGSG and do all your recording and all that stuff on and this podcast? Or would you say, no, as somebody that has a lot more PC gear, you're kind of in the middle right now. What would you say?
Is it my money or someone else's money? I think because if it's my money at this point, like it's just going to be the hardware. So it's going to have to be a PC.
Okay. And I'm open to this. It's company money. Okay. Let's get to it. Chris says, hey, this iMac, Nick, let me tell you, he puts his arm around me. He's like, man, let me tell you, this iMac, it's had a good life, but we need a new machine to do more Ask GSG and record podcasts. And, this new iMac Pro is coming out. Would you spend the cash on the iMac Pro, or would you say, here's what we're going to do? We're going to make one, or even get a custom built PC or whatever. Where would you spend the cash?
That is really, that's actually a great question, because I would have thought kind of across the board, I'd be like, you know what, like until Apple really gets it together, I'm going to say PC. But like, if I was at a big company and the boss was like, okay, it's time for the budget. Like, you want that new machine?
Let me be clear. You're not at a big company. You're at
I
this
know.
company.
I know. Well, no. If me at Grayscale
All of a sudden, the
is not
body's
as
going.
yeah.
I mean-
But knowing the limited 3D that I do on this machine, the stuff that's supposed to be kind of quick and just for the for SGSG and whatnot, like.
But you get a lot of AskGSG questions about stuff that you can't do with Octane and all that sort of thing.
This is true. This is true. I also just don't use Octane or Redshift or any of them. So,
But you could.
but I could potentially. But well, I'm just saying, if I was at a bigger company and it was like iMac, like I think your iMac hug thing, like I think that actually does. I didn't think that held much weight over me, but it does when you put it, when you kind of state it that way. But if it was like, oh wait, this is going to be Greyscalegorilla money, you know, and this might affect bonuses or something, then it's like, well, let's just go with the PC because you're going to get the better hardware, and you know, maybe I'll be spending a couple extra hours getting things set up and making sure things are configured and maybe more testing. But you know, I'm not living on this machine back here. I'm doing podcasts and AskGSG.
Well, let me tell you, thanks for thinking of expenses. That's first of all, big help. Second, I think that's interesting. I think, yeah, you're thinking about it as who's paying for it, and also what you're. I mean, this is obvious. What you're using it for, and what else you could also spend that money on. I think if instead I said, okay, we have this budget to spend, and you could spend it however you want, you'd probably go buy the PC and pick up some extra food on the way home. Not that you would get food, but like some Wendy's for the crew. You know what I mean? I don't know. That to me is a more interesting question than like Mac or PC. It's like it all depends. It's like it depends on your history, depends on how you work, and this is why these conversations are still interesting. Hopefully there's people out there listening to this. It's interesting to me because it is dependent. There is no right answer. The reason any debate exists is because it's not right one way or the other. It's right for you.
It's funny. Like somebody on the GSG Connect Slack just said, "What's up? No podcast this week?" And I wrote, "We're recording it now. WWDC wrap up." And someone wrote, "Is this just going to be an hour of snarky comments about Apple from Chad?"
You were pretty restrained.
I know. I feel like I was good. You know, I'm listen again. Like it's just I want people making decisions that are going to have a positive effect on their career, and sometimes those decisions are hard. They might mean taking a step into an uncomfortable direction, into an uncomfortable OS. But if it means that it's going to open up job opportunities for you, then you got to do it.
Yeah.
Got to do it. Got to do what you got to do.
I agree.
Alrighty.
Well, we should probably wrap up. Any last anything else we missed during the show, or anything else coming up you guys are excited about as we wrap it up?
I'm excited to go grab my new iPad, so I'll say that.
Ooh, are those out?
I was looking if I should order it or if I should just go head over to the Apple Store and grab it.
Dang it! If those are out,
they're out. Yeah, these are out.
Stores?
Yeah.
Well, if you order it now, it says it arrives on like the 11th or something. So,
How much
but I'm
are
assuming that means they're in the store. It looks like depending on what. Well, I'm looking at the iPad Pro, and it's like between like 700 and like 1,000, depending on like your configuration.
Holy crud!
Yeah, we didn't talk a lot about that stuff, but a lot of the software updates they did look really cool. A lot more Apple-like, which is kind of fun, or a lot more iOS, or I'm sorry, a lot more OS X-like, which is really interesting.
Finally, a file system too, which is
we didn't even mention
desperately
that. That's great. Like just Dropbox and everything right there. It's like, okay, now we're talking.
Now it's like real.
That was interesting.
The copy and pasting everything they had set up for selecting multiple things and dragging them around. All that looked really nice.
Well, let's do this. I know we're wrapping up. If anyone out there has something that we missed that you want us to discuss, we'll do it in maybe some follow-up in a future episode. Just drop us a comment. If you're still listening, first of all, thank you. Second of all, if you're listening on iTunes, drop us a comment down below. Let us know what you think. Let us know if you're going to buy this stuff, if you're getting an iPad, send us photos of toilet paper rolls, however you want to
express yourself.
Do it in the comments. Say hi. And also don't forget to give us a review on iTunes or on Google Play. Now that we're on there, we'd love to hear your feedback and also get any comments that you guys have about this stuff. And if you have any questions for us on other topics you'd like us to discuss, let us know in the comments as well. Oh, show notes too. Really quick, I just put, make sure we include the toilet paper photo in the show notes, because that's important. And a link to Synergy too. I think that technology sounds really cool. So if you'd like to see the show notes, if you're watching on YouTube, check the description down below. If you're listening, then go to our website. And this is episode, do we put the episode numbers on when we upload?
Yes. 65.
Okay, so this is episode 65. Search for that, and you'll see all the notes there. And with that, unless anybody else has anything else, Chad, if you'd like to wrap it up.
Yeah, thanks everybody for joining us, and we will see you on the next Greyscalegorilla podcast. Bye, everybody.
Bye.